It reminds me when you ask people, like you're interviewing people, why do you want to work for the police department? I want to help people, right? Immediately, because we're old, salty non-believers, right? We're like, really?
Well, you are.
Sure you do.
Clearly.
Right? So just saying that, but it's legitimate, right? There is that thought process of, I actually want to expand what I'm doing, or I feel like I can do more. Can you let them know who you are?
Absolutely. First of all, thank y'all for having me on. I work for Jamie, so I'm the real-time and consulting at DFR. So I spent 18 years at the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, a couple of years at Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, but I worked anywhere from patrol to investigations. I flew helicopters for a while, but I ended my career designing and building, maintaining the real-time crime center.
Nice. And that's why we have this episode, to figure out why we jumped, right? So what we want to talk about on this episode, and a lot of people have connected with us asking us what the transition was like between public government life and the private sector, right? So to me, there's two different paths. There's the work your entire government career, retire like you would normally retire at the retirement age, and then go into a private sector job. And then there's the path where you work a certain number of years in government, and then you make a decision one way or the other that this is it for me, right? And I'm going to go into this. And there's a lot apparently that goes into that concept. So I'll start by asking both of you guys, what led you to leave the profession that you left in order to even seek a position or a career, a change in a private company?
So with me in particular, it was the opportunity to have a bigger impact. And that's one of the things that I actually, during my interview process, kind of explained to them. I was like, why do you want to leave law enforcement and come work at Flock? Because, what I was doing at the time with the crime center in Fort Worth, I knew that I was having an impact on the city. Maybe not a huge impact, but an impact nonetheless with the decisions that I was making. But I knew I could make a bigger impact on crime nationally, maybe across the world, if I went to a company that's just what they focused on. So that really appealed to me.
Did Flock believe you when you answered the question that way?
I'm here, so I guess so.
I guess so. Yeah. It reminds me when you ask people, like you're interviewing people, why do you want to work for the police department? I want to help people, right? Immediately, because we're old, salty non-believers, right? We're like, really?
Well, you are.
Sure you do.
Clearly.
Right? So just saying that, but it's legitimate, right? There is that thought process of, I actually want to expand what I'm doing, or I feel like I can do more. And I don't think anybody can argue with this. There are constraints to how much or what you can do in government work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and
bureaucracy.
It limits creativity too.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was joking with a friend of mine years ago about how the public sector doesn't really encourage creativity and thinking outside of the box. And the phrase I used was, the tallest blade of grass is the first to get cut by the lawnmower.
That's about right. That's a great analogy.
That's pretty accurate.
It is.
Yeah, that's pretty
accurate, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a profession that encourages people to do that, which we in the crime center world have had to venture outside of that box.
Yeah.
And we were lucky and we got to do that.
Yeah.
But
so Matt you had a successful career at St. Johns County.
I did.
Real-time crime center, everything else. What did you consider? What did you have to take into account as far as the considerations of, do I leave now? Do I stay? Do I want to promote internally here? Do I want to do a different role here? Or do I want private life?
It's much like Dalton said, having that bigger impact. I knew I had an effect locally, but I wanted to impact globally. So that's why I joined the National Real-Time Crime Center Board, because I wanted that to expand that footprint. And then this role at Flock came along, and I saw an opportunity to expand globally, and I took it.
Yeah, and it's not unusual for law enforcement employees to retire and go to private industry, especially go to private industry for companies that they were familiar with in their roles at the police departments, right?
I'd say it's becoming more frequent now, just because of the direction that, technology is going within law enforcement and things of that nature. It seems like, I don't know, I always had a lot of guys at my agency, they'd go be an insurance guy, right? Do reconstruction, or, it was this very small box of things that they would do. Like, and now everything's kind of moving that way. So there's more opportunities for people that have our background to, venture over into the private sector.
But I think it goes beyond that. Like we have a specialized skill set, right? Not many people in this world, in the law enforcement world, have that skill set. So we're very blessed to be at Flock doing this.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. Now, you guys were sworn. I was not sworn. Do you still find yourselves, and you're more fresh out of the industry than Dalton is. You're not fresh at all.
Freshest.
The freshest. Do you guys still find yourselves inadvertently vigilant?
Yes and no. Yes, in a sense, like down here in New Orleans, crowds of people, head on swivel.
Okay.
I found over time, it's getting less and less.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a perishable skill.
Yeah.
I think it's probably never going to truly leave me. You agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
But in terms of, constantly being worried that something's going to happen, it's a mentality. In fact, I saw that whenever, you may have seen this too, when I went to the crime center after being a street cop.
Yeah.
And then I would go back on the street to maybe work a detail or overtime or something. I had kind of lost that edge.
Yeah.
Did you experience that same thing too?
I did. Working extra details, I'm like, wait a minute, I should probably work more of these.
Yeah.
So I can be on top of my game.
Yeah. Mentally, I'm questioning things that should I do this? When I used to just not care.
No.
Right? I'd just go do it.
Just like something as simple as your hands above your waist, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're standing there, and next thing you know, your hands are in your pockets. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
I should really change my posture.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed, like just interacting with everybody at our company that is prior sworn law enforcement. You almost see this change, and I don't know if it's purposed or if it's just natural, but you almost see this change of it takes a little while for them to get into the mindset of, I'm an everyday citizen of my wherever I'm at, right? As opposed to, I am a law enforcement officer that happens to be doing this. So it's an interesting thing to witness, right?
Yeah, I think that, and this is true across every job, not just Flock, obviously, but you see so many cops when they retire or if they leave early, and they were such a cop mentally that they can't get out of that mentality. So
this actually brings me up to why you choose where you go to when you leave law enforcement, right? So I bet we each have different answers for this, which is great, but when people do reach out to me, like, hey, I want to talk to you about transitioning from public sector to private sector, what advice do you have, et cetera? My advice is always, you know who you are. You know that there are companies out there that kind of represent you, right? Your style. And what you shouldn't do is try to put that round peg, I'm going to go back and say that the right way, the square peg into the round hole.
It can be a round peg. It doesn't matter.
I bet in Texas you guys probably say something different.
You swap it.
Yeah.
What's a star-shaped peg for us?
I'm sure it is. Yeah. For me, I wanted to pick something that culturally was very similar to the department that I worked for. And the department I worked for culturally was pedal down, get to it, do it right, do it ethically, have a good time while you do it, and make sure that it impacts the community in the right way, right? Community and life safety, quality of life it's number one. And so I wanted to go to a company that I felt represented who I am, right? That was easy for me. I don't know if it was easy for you two, if it was more difficult there. Do you feel like that's similar? And what do you think?
Yeah, but I personally think it's more in line with what you're actually interested in doing and you're good at in your life, like with your job there. For example, and I've talked about this before on my social media, I think it was. like a PIO, for example, you know, if you're doing PIO work and you're constantly talking to the media and doing public reach out and you're coming up with these marketing ideas, I mean, you're essentially a marketer. Like that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so many skills that cross over that people don't realize they cross over. And this is probably the biggest mistake that I see current law enforcement making when they're trying to cross over into the private sector is they kind of shotgun it. Like, hey, I'd like to have a job with Flock.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to do? Like,
who are you?
Do you want to just,
Yeah.
Because if Flock's not interested in, or any company for that matter, is really not interested in hiring somebody that just wants to work for that company.
Yeah.
They want to know, what are you going to do here?
Yeah.
Like, what are you interested in doing?
Yeah.
So that would be my one piece of advice is identify specifically what you enjoy, what you're good at. Do you like building things?
Yeah.
Then you could be a product manager. Do you like, you know, talking to the media? You'd probably be a good marketer. You know?
Solving problems, right? One of the most impactful people or I should say, one of the people who I believe has made a huge impact by going from a sworn career into working with us here, came into a solutions consultant role. And it is amazing how much of the skill set that they had that honestly government provided them, right? How they were able to transition that into being one of the best problem solvers for customers that we have here. So and I bet if you would have asked this person that before they retired, they probably would never have thought that's something that I want to do, right? What about you? I mean,
no, I want to kind of go back to what Dalton said. Like, you think of yourself, I'm just a cop, I'm just a dispatcher, right? But you're much more than that. You're a husband, you're a father, you have all these skills. Like Dalton said, hey, PIO, marketing. You like to build things, product manager. For me, I wanted to go into something that I could still help the guys and girls out there putting people away and give them the tools and resources. And for me, that was Flock.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's not anything special about knowledge that somebody on this side and the private side has. And that was one of the things that I thought. I was like, I'm going to go into this place and all these people are going to have all this knowledge and I have no idea what they're talking about. Now, some of it was kind of true, especially when I have to like Google what is KPI and OKR.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I did a lot of Googling.
Yeah, same
I'll
here.
be honest.
You're not alone.
Because I'm not about to ask anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm the expert.
Well, everything's in Google now.
Yeah.
But
let ChatGPT
But at the end
figure
of the
it out.
day, it's just a group of people trying to figure things out and get things done.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And who can do that really, really good? Police officers.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing it their whole lives.
Yeah, and we've noticed internally here, like if you talk customer success, some of our best customer success managers have never worked in law enforcement, and some of them were dispatchers, right? I feel like a hostage negotiator that is a trained hostage negotiator would be a very good person in sales if sales was for you. Yep. But I'll be honest, man, you guys know this. I've told our sales guys, I cannot live that life. Yeah. That is a stressful life, right?
Yeah, but some guys thrive on it.
Exactly. And that's where I think it goes back to what you're saying. Don't limit yourself to what you think you can do in the industry. Look at your skill sets and figure out, can this be useful? So if I go back to marketing, right? We have a very good marketing team here, full of professionals that excel in marketing. Mm-hmm. Don't allow that to scare you from thinking, I might actually be good at that. You don't know. You might be, you might not be, but you should look at it, right? Yeah. Because there's always a place for adversity, or not adversity. There's always a place for that too. Diversity, right? If we looked at those guys and those ladies that are thinking about making this jump, right? So let's talk about those who have not gotten to retirement age in law enforcement. These are people who are making a decision to leave what all the people in law enforcement would say is early, right? You can have 25 years in there, and if you're at an agency where you're not whatever age for retirement, everybody will look at you and go, hey, you're going early, right? So we're going to talk about all the people that want to go early. What should they be cognizant of when they leave what they're used to now? And as you think about that, for me, it was pay attention to benefits.
Yeah.
Right? If you're coming from a state or a system that the benefits are fantastic in government, the benefits are great in private sector. But great benefits here don't necessarily mean great benefits there.
When I was deciding on, am I going to leave early? Because I didn't retire.
Yeah.
I left early. There were a lot of things that went into it.
Yeah.
You know, obviously insurance is a big deal. You know, I've got 3 kids, I've got a wife.
Yeah.
If I stayed with the city and retired, I would have had benefits for life.
Right.
Right. So leaving that on the table. Most people have a pension. I had a pension. A lot of agencies have that. So you have to factor that in. I mean, you've got to kind of do detailed math to be like, does this make sense financially? If that's one of your motivators, you know, for a lot of people, they just want out of the profession because it just doesn't jive with them or something's going on. But, you know, finances may not be that important to them. Yeah. But if it is, you really got to take a deep dive into that to see if it makes sense.
Right?
Yeah,
if you're at an agency, for instance, my agency, we didn't pay Social Security. We didn't pay into that system. That's 6% of whatever you're about to earn, right? So you have to keep that in mind that you're about to pay 6%. Now, if you pay $0 to X dollars for your retirement or your pension, you need to understand if you go to a company that has a 401k, that's another 20-ish% off of whatever you're about to make. So your first 26% off the top is basically for your retirement, right? And so now when you look at what wage do I need to make, you start to look at, I need to make a lot of money, right? Because it almost gives you an appreciation for what we did have in government, right? Is that stability, that ability to know I'm going to have a defined benefit retirement when I'm done here, and that's huge, right? So did that factor into you leaving? That I had to make a decision like my defined benefit retirement is going to be less than I want, or any of that?
For me, it was like the whole package, like the work schedule, the compensation, the benefits, because like Dalton, I have a wife and 2 kids. You know, you have to look at everything. What I didn't realize is the 26% you just brought up is not accounted for in the private sector. In the government sector or public sector, it is. So you have to take that into account. Yeah. You know, I'm not sure about Dalton, but you know where I came from, the state paid the first 3% of retirement. I paid the other 3%. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think you find that kind of around the country. You find these differences in benefits. But I will, to go back to what you said, man, the deep dive into what those benefits really mean is almost more important than even looking at what company you're interested in before you even start, right? Because stability is a hell of a thing, and that's not easy to leave.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that back up because I wanted to bring that back up too. Make no mistake about it, you're going from a very, very stable, sometimes almost impossible to get in trouble if you're just showing up. And
you're an 80%er. You're going to keep on working in most places.
And you'll go your entire career and never have, you know, a second thought about being laid off or being terminated. Just it's not even in your head. But the second you cross over, oh boy, it's going to be there. Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because I actually think this is why a lot of cops are actually pretty good employees because it's almost like a training scar, right? You know, training scars that we build up by bad habits in the, you know, on the range or whatnot. Yes. You work 2 decades in law enforcement, never having thought about anything like that. Yeah. That's a scar.
If you walk the line, you have no fear of I'm not going to have my job, right?
Yeah. So you go into the unknown, and you're like, every day you're thinking, "Ooh, I'm not on that side anymore."
You're watching the news, right? And you're like, "Uh-oh, tech seems to be going down. Guess I better look for a job." Right? Where in law enforcement, you're like, tech's going down. Okay. Yeah. Right? I mean, you just do what you do.
Well, think about COVID. Grocery stores, hospitals, public service. Yeah. You know, didn't have to really worry.
So, deep dive into benefits, deep dive into pay, what you need, right? Unlike law enforcement, in my experience in law enforcement, there's not necessarily in companies staggered and guaranteed pay increases over any length of time, right? So understand that what you're leaving for today might be what you're working for 3 years from now, right? At least let that be a possibility so that you don't make a choice you regret, right? Yeah. Go to a company that culturally fits who you are, or I guess more importantly, who you want to be.
Yeah. Who you want to be,
right?
Yeah.
It's like, this company has this problem, and how can I help solve that problem?
Yeah.
And think about it that way.
Yeah. Well, one of the ways to identify the culture of a company, and I think probably all of us are very comfortable saying this about where we currently work at Flock, is it was very, very easy for us to get to know a lot of people because we talked to engineers, we talked to product managers, heck, we talked to the chief level officers all the time.
Yeah.
Because the whole company is notorious for being very, very comfortable and overt about always talking to the customer, figuring out what can we help with, how can we help. So being on that side, you get to know those people, and you see, man, everybody over here is like really, really happy. They want to help. Other vendors, you may not get that.
Sure.
So that might be kind of telling of maybe what the culture, maybe not.
I agree. I mean, that for me, I gave my experience in the private sector 1 month. That was in my mind. I'm going to give it a month because if what I saw...
Before you get fired?
Well, that was part of it too. Right? They're going to fire me after 3 days. It was really is what I saw from the outside as a customer the same thing I see from the inside as an employee. And if it wasn't, I wasn't going to stay here, right? Because I'm not about either hypocrisy or any of that, right? So, and it's not just the tech industry. There are many industries that folks can leave law enforcement and go into. You can go into teaching, right? If you're a good instructor, you might choose, I'm going to go and either start my own company, which whole another set of both issues and benefits, right? But it's not just tech, right? A lot of good companies out there. A lot of folks want what law enforcement, fire service employees bring. Mm-hmm. But just remember, I think the most important thing I can tell somebody, be humble, because what you were is not what you are now.
Yeah, that right there for sure is, some people can't let go of that.
Yeah.
And this is certainly not painting any group of individuals.
He's talking about you. If you think he's talking about you, he is.
I'm talking to you, yeah.
Yeah.
But, if you held a certain rank or position or something like that, and you come over and you expect everything to translate directly over, that's not how it works. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you actually get there, and you need to go into that environment. Yeah. Be like, guys, I have no idea what's going on here. Teach me what I need to know.
Yeah. Final thoughts on we will all three get this, right? And please don't stop doing this to us. You're going to get those messages on LinkedIn. You're going to get those emails, right, from guys and ladies that are in the profession still that, hey, guys, how did you do this? Why? What did you consider? Final thoughts on what we can leave the audience of this podcast with that might help them with that decision if they're going to transition, and help them transition from public sector to private.
I would say look at your quality of life. Is this step going to improve my quality of life? Meaning family time, me time, pay, benefits, the whole package. Is it going to benefit me to do this? Yeah. So you have to look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. On that, remote work is, you're busy.
Yeah.
That was one thing
that
I had to learn very, very quickly. All of us had to learn very, very quickly is, in policing world, I have a meeting. Yeah. It would end at 11 a.m. I'd go walk to the next meeting or whatever.
With a coffee cup,
get a coffee cup, go to the restroom, do whatever.
Good. Not here, not remote work.
Oh no, remote work. Your meeting ends at 11. Guess what time your next meeting starts? 11.
11.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I had to schedule my lunches the first month.
So I'm gonna summarize what you just said. Be ready for a different experience.
Oh, the tempo.
Right.
Be fluid.
I guess it kind of depends on what company and the success that they're having. Yeah. I mean, some are going to be slower than others.
Yeah.
But be prepared for it to be extremely, extremely fast.
Yeah. And demanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were asking and how we leave this, the one piece of advice that I would give is kind of going back to what I was saying, is identify what you like, what interests you.
Yeah.
And read books and find out about product management and marketing and customer success and sales.
Yeah.
And which one of those kind of jump out as my skill set, and then start talking to people that actually do those roles, preferably at the company you want to go work for. That's one thing I've noticed, especially, is everybody's super super helpful on
Yeah.
this side of the fence.
True, which I didn't expect.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
cynicism over here like there is over there.
Right. They don't look at it as you're coming to take their job. They're
Yeah.
actually willing to help you
Yeah.
get that info.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you? Because you didn't give your opinion.
No, mine. So I retired. I got tired. Right. 31 years. I was tired, and I wanted to. I was tired of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Says the guy that's on an airplane every week
Yeah.
of the entire year.
Yeah, he's
True.
not tired at all.
that's true. But it's a change, right? And so anybody that knew me in my career knows I love change. I love to be fluid. I love to pivot and do other things. And that actually helped me decide where and what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so my kind of final thought is, again, if you are looking to do this transition, don't ever pursue something your gut tells you may not want to do. Because really, you get one chance to leave your profession. And I know one thing, most of us in law enforcement, we're very proud people. The one thing we're probably not going to do is go back to our agency.
Right.
Nope.
Right. So you don't have a chance to make the wrong decision, right? In that sense. And so do your research and don't feel like you have to make anything done in a hasty way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Slow it down, do the right thing. You'll
Take your
be fine.
time.
Yeah.
Really take your time.
Yeah.
But that's not to scare anybody off. I mean,
No, man, come on.
The benefits, the rewards
Yep.
of coming to a place and really, really enjoying what you do
Yeah.
cannot be understated.
I have no regrets.
no regrets. No regrets.
Yeah, none at all.
Yep.
Well, thanks, fellas.
Yeah. This is
Anytime.
It was nice seeing you, Matt.
Thank you.
yeah.
Dalton.
Thanks
for
for having me
coming.
on.
Not nice to see me too.
Not really.
Debatable.